What is up? All right, so couple updates, some happenings. This is just going to be kind of like the weekly owner vlog, check-in, what have you thing, um, to put on social media. So since I haven't figured out how to be cool on the internet and do like cool packing videos and quick cuts and all that cool stuff, this is what I have to make sure that the internet knows I exist. Okay, so I'm packing up some Enbor upgrade kits. I have a lot of packed orders already that I didn't think to film, and I'm not gonna necessarily film the orders. I don't want shipping labels and stuff being on the video, but let's talk about. So the Memorial Day weekend sale went really well. We came closer to a stock out than we ever have before, and I am rapidly replenishing stock um, of the manifolds and of some of the ClearFlow adapter models. The crossbow and the M frame alphas were extremely popular during the sale, and we actually sold the last crossbow model that I had on hand in the new material, and so I'm making more of those now. And thank goodness that it's a long weekend and the post office isn't running, so that actually gives me some buffer to stock up before I have to ship anything. So I do have an event that I'm going to, a swap meet that I'm going to this coming weekend at the DV8 Airsoft Field in it's in Florida. It's in like Central Florida, like between Tampa and Ocala. In a place I want to say Lithia. I don't know. It's up there where Black Tiger used to be before they moved, and then subsequently went kaput. But anyway, they're doing a swap meet, so I've decided I'm gonna go try to go up there and do like a little, Beef by Gear booth and see what happens with in-person sales and just get the word out about the products because while I feel like uh, you know, the awareness is growing and it is growing, but like my whole reach on social media has been like 10,000 people. So if you know, you know, and not everybody knows. So I'm trying to get the airsoft community more aware of Beef Like Gear and the problems we're solving. And so tell your friends, share the posts, do the things to spread the word if you believe in the products and like the products and think the problem's worth solving. Um, I certainly do. I think that fog is probably the number one nuisance that gets in the way of you enjoying the game of airsoft. And it you spend all this money on guns and kit or replicas and kit, and you want to go out there and use it, and you want the deciding factor between whether you win or lose to be your skill, and fog just kind of gets in the way of that. So the idea at Beef Like Gear is to solve all of those convenience and nuisance problems so that you can play the game and your skill is the only factor. That's the vision. And we're starting with fog because there's a lot there, and I don't feel like the problem has been adequately solved uh, currently. I think that there are a lot of good pieces of technology available, but none of them really solve every problem in the area. So we are trying to kind of buff out those technologies, upgrade those technologies, create accessories that expand the capabilities of those technologies, and um, really make it so that there isn't a category of player that is unable to solve their fog problem with, solutions available to buy off the shelf. We don't want people having to DIY hack their way through these problems. We don't want people to have to, contract custom work. I want there to be a product out there for your use case that solves this problem. And I know that I have not addressed goggles. I have been focused on people who wear tactical eyewear, ballistic glasses, and frames, but I'm getting there. Uh, Honestly, my assumption was that Xfog, and I didn't use an Xfog when I started this company. I was using a Novridge, and the Novridge comes with a little gasket hole punch and a little magnetic gasket mounted vent thing that the tubes connect to, and that is for goggles. It is for specifically goggles with gaskets, and of course their goggles all have gaskets. So, um, and I was running some of their goggles at the time. So I figured the goggles issue wasn't a problem. What happened was, even with the Novridge system, and it wasn't really so much like fog as it was like heat and sweat, and I hated the fact that when I was wearing goggles, I couldn't see my full field of view, like my full periphery, because of the goggle architecture. And I wanted to be able to basically play like I wasn't wearing eye protection, like be able to see like I wasn't wearing eye protection, um, while I was playing. And so the logical next step was to go to tactical eyewear, and I went through a number of glasses frames trying to find one that I liked. And no matter what I did, even and the best glasses are the blocks. No question, the best anti-fog glasses are the blocks. They have the best anti-fog coating, but even then, they are not going to stop condensation. They're not going to stop sweat condensating on the lenses. And so I had issues with that. Like I could still see, but it wasn't perfect, and it seemed ridiculous to me that I had spent, what I had spent on the Novridge system, because I bought the real one, not the knockoff. Um, and I couldn't use it with these glasses because they didn't have a gasket. And so eventually I decided to solve this problem. And that is why I focused on the glasses, because I know none of the systems are built to work with glasses. And frankly, I am surprised, no shade, but I am surprised that Xfog just kind of gives you the raw tubes and is like, figure it out. I know they have their magnet adapters, but they still require you to like figure out how and where to mount them. Um, so I am realizing that the goggles are just as much of a problem, and especially with the Nbor set, the tubing is big. Like the tubing is thick, okay, and it's pretty. It's not rigid, but it is harder than silicone for sure, and it's even because of the diameter, because of the wall thickness, it's harder than the Xfog tube and PU tube. So this is pretty big tube to just be shoving in your goggles. Now you can do it. Um, it works with the ClearFlow adapter elbows that come with your ClearFlow adapters. It does, have some stiffness when you're bending it at hard angles, so the routing packs are a good idea, at least, like 45 or a 90 pack to be able to do the connection for ClearFlow. Um, Whether you're going up or down or out or whatever, like it's good to have some elbows on hand just in case you need them. But if you're not using ClearFlow, um, how do you get it in your goggles other than just shoving the tubes in there? And that's a problem that I'm working on solving. That is a problem I need to solve urgently. There needs to be a product there. There was a comment on an Instagram post um, about that, like A, saying that these upgrade kits were too expensive, and B, that they didn't come with any way to connect to your goggles. And on A, no, they're not too expensive. Actually, they're kind of inexpensive. And if I go by market standards, I should be charging 40 or $50 for this, more than that even. Like I could, but I'm not going to do that um, because I've calculated the margins just enough to be able to A, keep me in business, cover the materials, the time, the post processing, all the labor that goes into making these products, the packaging, all of that. But also, if eventually I want to see these in a store, if I want to wholesale these, there has to be some margin because I have to make money when I sell it to a retailer and they have to make money when they sell it to you. And the only way to do that is to bake in some margin to the product. And frankly, the technology is not without value. I have invented technology. We have invented technology that improves the airflow of the Xbox system by 50%. And that is not without value. So it is not just the materials um, that you're paying for. You're paying for the solution. Like if you've ever called a plumber or paid to get your oil changed and it costs $100, you could do that yourself for much less. But you're paying for the service and you're paying for the solution and the convenience. And, you know, anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. But that guy did make a good point and mentioned the connectors for the tubes that are, very large. They're not the size of a nickel, but they're like 10 millimeters, 11 millimeters diameter, which isn't nothing. And if you're sticking these in your goggles, it can get uncomfortable. So I'm working on some stuff. I've got some little, I'm prototyping some stuff now. These are just like this is like a little vent attachment that sits on the edge of the goggles and points towards the lenses. It's much more comfortable than the tube. And the diameter of this, it's the same surface area. It's just a different shape. Same surface area as the uh as this. It's just a blade shape like that. So you're not losing any airflow. It's just changing shape so that it can be more comfortable to tuck in here. But this is still a pressure fit, tuck in. It can move around, like it doesn't actually mount to the goggles in any kind of way. So I'm working on that. This is not a product that I'm going to release. This is just like a testing prototype. Um, but I'm working on that, trying to figure out how best to do that so that it works with as many goggles as possible. Because I don't really want to get into the situation where I'm having to make goggles specific mounts the way I have to make the frame specific mounts for ClearFlow, because it's just not, it's difficult. There's a lot of SKUs, it's a lot to stock. It's very difficult to wholesale that. It's very difficult to get a store to buy 50 of something that is only going to work with one frame. Like they're going to buy 50 if the adapter is universal. And if there's only one supported frame or whatever, it's going to be like, okay, I need two or three of this and two or three of that and none of those because nobody I've ever seen in my area wears those glasses. And, it also limits the customer. Like, what if I buy ClearFlow adapters, or what if I buy these goggles adapters and then I change my goggles? I have to buy new adapters for those goggles. It's just, with the glasses, I understand. There's not really a way around it because you need a really secure fit. and it needs to be perfectly directed because it's an open system. So if you're not telling the air exactly where it needs to go to do the work, you're going to have loss and it's not going to be optimal performance. But with a goggle, it's a closed system. You just got to get air in there and moving, and it'll kind of do what it needs to do. Um, so I'm trying to solve that problem. Trying to figure out a generally universal way to get tubes into your goggles purposefully and comfortably. So right now I'm dealing with trying to restock everything, but that's on my list. I also have 5 new frames that I want to make ClearFlow adapters for. Um, Smith Aegis Arc, Zenny Z87s for the prescription crowd, uh, OpsCore MK1s for the fancy boys, and what else? I had a couple more. Oh yeah, ESS Crossblades, Bali Raiders, and the Bali MY7s. Those are all on my to-do list. When I can get through this material transition and get my stock situation handled where I've got some cushion and I've got some free print time. Right now my printers are working overtime just to restock what's already available, so I can't do any prototyping. But once I've solved that and I can do some prototyping, I will start knocking off ClearFlow adapters and working on more iterations of this goggle vent problem. Another cool thing that is coming is the elbows. We're going to do an upgrade offering to the elbows that come with ClearFlow. I'm making a straight connector. Some of you who have ordered got a prototype kit of those as like a add-on gift to try out. They were a little small. I don't think there was enough friction. Um, and there's actually a little bit of variance in the elbows where some of them are, very positive, very frictiony, and some of them are, feel pretty loose. Um, just because the nature of 3D printing, like there is a little bit of variance, and when we are talking, and there's a little bit of variance on the adapter hole, and there's a little bit of variance on the elbow. So when the adapter variance leans to the wider side and the elbow variance leads to the smaller side, you get the loose connection, which functionally it still works. You're not losing any meaningful amount of air because it's not fully sealed. It's just wobbly. It rotates around in there. It can feel like it's going to fall out. Which, if you do your tubes right and you create forward tension, that pressure is going to keep it in there until you pull it out. But anyway, it's not ideal. Like, it's not optimal, and we don't want to compromise here. So I am designing a new elbow upgrade kit that's going to be system specific. So like when you buy the ClearFlow adapters, you get 2 Xfog and 2 Navrich elbows, and with this, you're gonna get 2 elbows and 2 straights of the either Navrich or Xfog diameter for the tubing, and then the Navrich is the end bore also. That's another thing, just real quick. If you order the N-bore upgrade kit or the N-bore tubing, whatever, like if you are running N-bore tubing with your Xfog, do not buy the Xfog routing kit or the Xfog routing packs because they're not going to fit. You need to buy the Navrich ones. And it's on my to-do list to go in and change the variant name from just Navrich to Navrich/Nbor so it's more clear. But I've had numerous, no less than 5 people order the wrong thing, and I have to get in touch with them and like track them down with emails or texts and be like, hey man, did you mean to do this? Hey, you got this bigger tubing and I saw you ordered these routing packs or this routing kit or whatever. If you're trying to use these 2 things together, it's not going to work. You want me to change your order? And most people have been very kind, and they responded to me quickly, and they're very grateful that I called it out and fixed the order before I shipped it. Um, but still, I want to just eliminate that friction point and get everybody to understand, if you're upgrading to the Enbor system, it does use wider tubing, and the standard XFOG diameter routing kits and packs are not going to work with it. You need the Novrich routing kits and packs. It is a Novrich diameter tubing, Novrich inner diameter. Uh, but yes, I will add Enbor to the variant name for the Novrich one, so it's clear that, like, hey, this one works with the Enbor upgrade, and maybe we'll see less order mistakes. Because I would hate for people to get the wrong thing, or get something that doesn't work with their setup. And so I'm doing everything I can to catch those and try to, fix it before shipping. Because I certainly don't want to pay double shipping because you ordered the wrong thing either. And um, deal with returns or any of that. I hate returns. I personally, in my personal life, I hate returning shit, and I don't want to deal with it in my business either. Of course, I will make it right if something goes wrong. I'm definitely customer service is my number one priority, but also I would rather get it right the first time. That's another tenet of that's another value I carry is like, don't suck. The first one, be nice, um, and slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You want to go fast, but you've got to get it right the first time. You have to get it right the first time, because if you don't get it right the first time, then you got to do it again. You've wasted all that time, so it doesn't matter how fast you went the first time. Um, so, in the spirit of trying to get it right the first time, uh, I'm gonna fix that variant name, and hopefully that will help people understand what they need to order. All right, so I didn't get to the update that I wanted to get to. The big deal is the ClearFlow adapters are being printed in ASA. So far, so good with that. Happy with that. Positive feedback. Haven't had any negative feedback. Obviously, there's going to be no melting issues. The ASA material is stiffer and can be more brittle than PLA Plus. However, it's very tough. So I don't think I'm gonna have any breakage issues. Time will tell on that. I've only been shipping the ASA for about a week, maybe a week and some change now. So I'm waiting for feedback to start rolling in. Probably only a couple of folks have the ASA ones in their hands. So yeah, time will tell on that, but I'm pretty confident that ASA is the right material for ClearFlow. However, for the manifolds, I am not 100% confident that ASA is the right material. That's currently what is shipping in, is ASA. There was a small moment of PETG. It was shiny, and I wanted to stick with the matte black as much as I could. But shiny does match the XFOG box, so I'm not gonna let that be like a completely determining factor on what material we decide to go with. But I am testing polycarbonate, and I am testing matte PETG. PETG has a heat tolerance of like 160 degrees Fahrenheit, which should be plenty for normal use. Milsim games outdoors, all that. Now, if you leave it on your dashboard in 100-degree sunny weather for 4 hours and it gets up to 200 plus degrees in your car, it might warp a little bit. I think that's expected. However, if that happens to you, reach out to me, send me pictures of the messed up thing, and I will help you and make it right. And please do trust me when I say my goal is to solve problems and take care of airsofters. Like, I want to take care of my customers. Please give me the opportunity to make something right if you feel something didn't go right. If you're not absolutely satisfied with your products, I take that very personally. I don't want to be peddling pond scum. I don't want to be representing a product that is inferior. I don't want to compromise. So please do communicate with me. If you have any issues, questions, comments, concerns, let me know. My email is on the card you should get with your orders. It's also the contact form on bflygear.com goes directly to me. Uh, my email is bflygear@gmail.com, blackfly@bflygear.com, or support@bflygear.com. All of those messages will eventually make their way to me. I'm This business is small enough that I can stay across everything right now, and I don't have to just delegate. Um, I obviously want to grow it into a large business where I don't see literally everything, but right now I do. And that's a good thing because I can help make things right. And in my W-2 job, my day job, because this obviously business is not making me enough money to quit my day job. I am an executive department head of the customer service department. So I take it very seriously. I take customer service very seriously, and I do want the opportunity to make things right if something goes wrong. So please do give me that. On the material front, like I said, I'm testing uh, polycarbonate, different PETG composites, PETG itself. I'm not gonna do the shiny PETG probably, but the matte PETG, which has like carbon fiber dust in it, uh, tends to look better, be a little bit more rigid, be a little bit more heat resistant. So that's a candidate. And but hopefully the polycarbonate works well because polycarbonate's really tough, really heat resistant. It should be like BB impact resistant if the layer adhesion is good enough. I'll have to test that, but we'll see. I'm gonna find a superior material, or we'll stick with ASA. It's printing somewhat consistently, but like I said, we're having issues with stocking because if I do a batch, which is like overnight, when I go to sleep, I start like an 8-hour print. During the day, I'm printing things in small batches so I can control the print and watch the print. But when I go to sleep, I start a big batch, and by big batch, I can do maybe like 8 sets of manifolds overnight, 8-hour print, 4 of each thing. Or I'm sorry, 6 sets, 6 of each thing, 6 lateral, 6 vertical, 8 hours overnight. And then, so I did that last night, and this morning, 4 of them were warped, only 2 were usable. So, and everything, the chamber temperature was controlled, the print temperature was controlled. I have an aftermarket plate. Like, I've gone through the list of things to optimize. I've changed the not print temperature. I've tweaked it here and there to get better layer adhesion and this and that and the other. And I think I have it, you know, the best it can be for my print setup. And it's still failing now and then. It doesn't fail so much on the smaller prints, but when I try to do batch prints and I'm not actually looking at it, it's like the little chaos goblins come out and mess up everything. So it doesn't have a good success rate when I'm doing large batches. And each one of those large batches takes so much time that to lose one like that with an 80% failure rate or whatever, uh, that sucks. And if that happens every time, it's going to mess up my stock levels. So I'm trying to find a more consistent printing material that has all the same properties of durability, heat resistance, all that, um, or at least acceptable, for the environments it's going to be in. And if I can find one that works better than ASA, then we'll use it. If I can't, then we'll stick with ASA. For the elbows, ASA is not good. Tried printing some elbows in ASA. They're very brittle because it's a very small part and it's round. You can just kind of crush the flat side without the barbs, and it doesn't take much to do that. So PLA Plus is still a stronger material. It actually has that matte finish, so it creates a little bit more friction. And it's in the adapter and in the tube, so the lower heat tolerance I don't think is an issue. If something happens and your elbows get messed up, just shoot me a message and I will get you some new elbows. Um, it's not a big deal. I don't think that's going to happen. I haven't had any complaints about the elbows other than a few mentions of like, hey, it would be cool if there was a straight one. And I hear you. I'm working on that. Um, and I don't know if I finished my thought before about the upgraded connectors pack, but for ClearFlow, I am designing and prototyping and testing flexible connectors that are rubberized TPU. Um, and the current thinking is that I'm going to do a set of 90 degrees and a set of straights for one system. So 4 pieces um, for like $7 or $8, like $7.99, something like that. It doesn't make sense to put pieces for both systems in because it doubles the cost of producing it, and also if you are specifically ordering the connectors, you know which system you're using. Um, so that's what I'm thinking right now. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about the price point, but these are a little bit of a bitch to make because they're TPU, and printing TPU consistently is challenging. It's not as challenging as like ASA or polycarbonate, but um, whenever you're printing non-standard material, it can be challenging. I had a 100% failure on a plate of these elbows um, on my second print, and like this one, I obviously can't use this one. Look at it. I'm not so worried about this part, but this big divot in here is ugly, and that's not gonna make it through QA. But if I can get these printing consistently, if I can get the straights printing consistently, um, actually, the benefit of these is that they do create a full seal. So these are just slightly bigger than the opening, and they go in there pretty easy, like as far as for a full seal. Um, but that there's gonna be no air loss on that. It's fully sealed, and they still rotate. It takes a little bit more force because they're very tight friction fit. And they still do quick disconnect. However, I don't think you're gonna be able to do it with like one finger like you can with the ClearFlow adapters. You would need to brace your adapter and work it out a little bit. But yeah, these are coming. I'm still testing and playing with them, and like I said, I'm just dealing with like trying to replenish my stock right now, so I don't have any free printers to prototype with. But that's another thing on my list. So prototyping the flexible connectors, straight connectors, and they'll come in a kit. And I may do, the plastic straight, the hard plastic straight connectors, and uh, elbow connector kits for like $4, and then the flexible ones for $8. So you can get new connectors if you break one or whatever pretty easily, or if you want the straights. Not there yet. I'm not adding anything to the catalog right now. I'm still testing. But those new connectors, trying to solve the goggle tube mounting problem some kind of way. Um, Trying to add more ClearFlow adapters to the lineup for Smith Aegis Arc, Zenny 87s, OpsCore MK1s, ESS Crossblade, and those Bollies, the Bolly MY7s and the Bolly Raiders. Um, the Bolly Raiders, I haven't been able to find a way to get a pair of those in the US. I did order some MY7s. I do have some Smith Aegis Arcs. Um, I ordered some Zenny 87s. I think I did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. And I have a guy sending me his OpsCore MK1s to design around. And so honestly, those are probably going to come out first because when somebody sends me their frames, I put everything else on the back burner. I deal with that frame and then I get it back to them as quickly as possible. So probably looking at the OpsCore MK1s coming next. And then I will get on the other models. The Raiders, the Bali Raiders, I really want to do, but I don't have a way to get a pair of those to design around. And they're like made overseas. They're like a UK thing. Um, but anybody in the UK who wants me to make adapters for Bali Raiders and has a pair of Bali Raiders they're willing to loan me, I do pay shipping both ways for that loan program, and then you get a free set of adapters when I'm done. Like you get the first off the line adapter set for free when I return your glasses. It comes with a set of adapters. Um, so if anybody wants the Raiders done that bad, uh, that's the option right now. I don't have a way to get them. I did get the other ones. I have ESS Crossblades. Um, so the Raiders are the only ones that I'm missing. Anyway, this Black Flight podcast has gone on for well over 30 minutes now. So I will wrap it up. But please do let me know your feedback, comments, concerns, issues, ideas for new stuff, what problem we should solve next, all of that stuff. Send it to me. I want to hear from you. Leave it in the comments. Shoot me an email. Um, Check out my website. Hit the contact button. However you want to do it. It's easy to reach me. I'm constantly checking everything for messages so I don't miss one. It is my intention to see and respond to every comment, message, whatever. Um, Even if it's just an emoji, like if you just make a statement, I still want to see it and acknowledge that I read it with a like or something. So please do be communicating. This is very much the early days. I'm considering starting a Discord server for people who, want to be part of the design process, um, testers, feedback givers, any of that kind of stuff. Let me know if you think that's a good idea or not. Um, I know everybody's probably got like 100 Discord servers they're in, and social media is hard to keep up with, but I'm I feel like there's a community forming here, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to grow that and connect everybody so we can all solve this problem together. So, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Push buttons, like stuff, comment on things, do stuff, all that. See you out there.